3-0 victory and joint second in the table. I do not care what it says. We are joint second. Alphabetical order to decide on order is bollocks. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel today. My name is the Crimson Wolf and welcome back to the Blue review for our Premier League game taking on Aston Villa. And this was probably the best performance we've had all season. Not really anything went wrong and nothing really troubled us from the Aston Villa side. There was a couple defensive wobbly moments here and there, but other than that I think we dealt with it pretty well. And I don't think there was really anybody who had a bad game. Quick disclosure, I am currently a bit ill, so if I do sound a little bit weird, that is why. So hopefully it won't sound too bad on your end, but me, I am dying a little bit, so please excuse me. But if you are new around here, allow me to give you a quick overview of what to expect on the Blue review. Basically, I go through 8 points from the previous game, Lampard's famous 8, as I like to call it, and give them a card based on whether it was a good, mid, or bad performance. Those, of course, being blue, yellow, and red. And then, of course, there is the all-fabled gold card for the man of the match. So, not going to waste any time with this one, just going to dive straight into it and begin with the first card. And it is a red card, however, it is not for a player. It is for the injury to Wesley Fofana. And I think this deserved a pretty significant mention, because it is a really significant injury for us. Obviously, Wes Fofana has started all Premier League games this season alongside Levi Colwill. Their partnership has obviously been allowed to grow, and it has been getting a lot better in recent games. So losing Wes Fofana, which apparently is going to be for the rest of the year, so the entire month of December, and possibly a decent bit into 2025, which is really unfortunate, and I do really feel bad for Wes. To be fair to him, he has done really well this season. He's doubled the amount of games he's had in his entire Chelsea career, so pretty much the 22-23 season, because obviously he missed the entirety of last year. I believe he's now up to, he played 13 games this season. He's done really, really well, I have to say to him. And considering he has taken some decent knocks in the time, I remember watching a couple games thinking, and he's gone down on him thinking, oh dear, here we go again. And he's toughed it out, and he's mastered through it, and he has done really, really well. And it is a sad shame that he has gone out like this just before the year's gone out. I really feel bad for him. However, while I'm not going to say it was a good timed injury, it definitely could have been a lot worse timed. If this had happened when we were in that mad run of fixtures, when we had Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, that kind of fixture list, I would have been really concerned. But considering what we've got coming up, obviously we're playing Southampton midweek, and then we've got Spurs, which might be a problem, but I think that should be okay. And then we've got Everton and those kind of teams. I do, as I say, feel bad for Wes, but it is very significant because he is so important to Maresca's setup with both him and Colwill, because obviously I've always said that the two of them are the perfect partnership, because you have Colwill, who's the talent, and he is the sweeper. He basically cleans up everything at the back, and obviously is the one that progresses the play with his line-breaking passes. And then you've got Wes, who is the one who goes on the front with his front foot defending. Obviously he goes and wins the ball back, and is often the one that tends to mark the striker as well. He is also the fastest centre-back. That is something that's worth pointing out. None of our centre-backs are as quick as him, so that is going to be a massive loss for us. At the minute, it looks like his replacement is going to be Benoit Badiashile, based on the fact that he was the one that came off the bench versus Aston Villa the weekend. Obviously, previously it has been Tosin when Wes Fofana was suspended for that Liverpool game. The time we've heard is 4 to 5 weeks, which obviously isn't great, but it could be a lot worse, and considering his injury history, it could have been a lot worse. I hope Wes gets well soon. Hopefully, the combination of Levi and either Badiashile, Dizazi, or Tosin will be enough to hold us down until his return. But hopefully, Wes does make a speedy recovery. Next up, and probably for the first time ever, there are no yellow cards to talk about. So I'm jumping straight into the blue cards, beginning with the defence. Now, I obviously just touched a lot on Wes Fofana and his injury problems, but I do want to talk about him again alongside Levi Colwill and Robert Sanchez. I have lumped all three of them in here together, mainly for convenience, because I did think all three of them deserve talking about, but obviously I only have 8 spots, so it's kind of a cheap way of doing it. But I think they were all brilliant in this game. I think Fofana, he did have that one moment when he did let the ball slip and Watkins got it, but thankfully Sanchez was there to bail us out. But he did also have a moment when he was getting pressured by Watkins and he made a very simple and effective header back to Sanchez, which we have seen him have problems with in the past. So thankfully he didn't screw that up. Levi, I think, was really good in this game. He was putting his body on the line for the cause. Obviously there was that header from the corner that he cleared over the bar from Ross Barkley. Levi was just really good in this game. He is, as I've mentioned before, our best centre-back, and I am very happy that he has been able to play most minutes this season. I think he's probably the player with the most minutes in the squad, bar Sanchez and Caicedo, I'd imagine. Maybe Palmer and Jackson are up there as well. But Levi rarely gets taken off in games. I think the only time I've seen him get taken off was the Nottingham Forest game, but other than that, he has played full 90s pretty much the entire time. I do really like the guy. He is absolutely a brilliant player, and he was brilliant in this match once again. Didn't have a huge job to do, to be fair, because I don't think Villa really threatened us that much outside of those few dodgy moments. But even then, I think Levi did really well in those instances. As for Sanchez, I said in my preview that if Sanchez had another howler after Jorgensen had his performance versus Heidenheim, Maresca would not be able to deny that Jorgensen should be starting anymore. Thankfully for Sanchez, he did put in a decent shift. Nothing went wrong. His distribution was largely pretty good. He was making some pretty decent line-breaking passes from deep. There was the one, I believe it was actually a drop kick from, obviously, his box all the way out to Jadon Sancho on the left wing, which was absolutely brilliant. So I have to give him credit for that. And there were obviously a couple good saves in there. Obviously, the big one on the back of Wes's mistake, I think, was probably the best one of the lot. There was another one in there. He made it with his feet, actually, as well. That's a really good point. He did make that save with his feet. I didn't realise that until watching it back, but he did make it with his feet, and that is really good to see, because I'd always questioned Sanchez's shot stopping with his feet. With his hands, he's largely faultless, but with his feet, he can be a bit suspect, so I am really happy that he did manage to save it with his feet. There was another one in there, and it was a pretty well-taken save, so I have no complaints with Sanchez in this game. I still am of the opinion that he isn't the long-term solution to our goalkeeping situation, and I do still want to see Jorgensen given a chance in the Premier League. Maybe we see that versus Southampton, because we know what Maresca's like with alternating squads midweek. So maybe it's a possibility, and I would really like to see it. But until then, we won't know. I have no faults with Sanchez for this game. He largely had a pretty solid game, and hopefully it continues. But as I said, I don't think he is the long-term solution. But as long as he keeps playing like this, I'll leave him alone. The next blue cards are going to the partnership of Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo. They are two individual points, but I am going to talk about them together because I think they'll largely go hand in hand for this game. Caicedo, as per usual, was his brilliant self, obviously winning the ball back all over the pitch, and I think he just once again had a really good performance. And on top of that, he was playing at right back a lot of the game. Obviously, we didn't start a natural right back in this game, so we had Caicedo inverting from right back into midfield, into the base of midfield, playing alongside Lavia, which allowed Enzo Fernandez to push up the pitch. And the balance of that really, really worked. I've said this for quite a while. I actually theorized that if we weren't going to play Gusto or Reece there, that we could play Caicedo. And I think the balance was perfect for this game. It really, really worked. And because Villa's midfield is quite strong, obviously with the likes of John McGinn, Boubacar Kamara, Yuri Tielemans, I think what we did for this game by having both Caicedo and Lavia in this game, so we fortified our midfield a little bit, and having Enzo Fernandez to provide our attacking quality, it really, really worked. So I really do like what Maresca did with that. And obviously that was pretty much the only way that we're going to get all three of them on the pitch, by having Caicedo inverted into right back. So I think that really worked. Lavia, not as good as Caicedo, but that's to be expected, to be honest. But I do think Lavia was really good. One thing I do really like about Lavia, he's very press resistant. I was looking at him in the game and just thinking, he is so hard to get the ball off. They're gunning for him, and he is just like holding them off, turning away from them, like they can't get it off of him. It's really good to see. Lavia is a really, really good player. I am very happy with him. I have been vocal about him in the past. I have been one of his bigger critics, but I think that's less to do with him and more to do with the fact that I think we needed Enzo Fernandez in this team. Obviously now we are seeing why he is such a big part of this team. But Lavia is also a very big part of this team. I do like what he brings to the game. I like the defensive solidity that it provides us, and I like what he provides for Caicedo as well, because I think Caicedo, again, as I said, was brilliant in this game whenever he was providing a shift at right back or whenever he was providing a shift in midfield. I thought he was doing really, really well. He was just making the tackles all over the place. Lavia was just winning the ball back, holding it up as well, being able to just not give the ball away, and that is something I really do appreciate. One thing I do want to know with Lavia is, and this might be to do with the fact that he's not required to do it as much anymore, he's not really doing it where he gets the ball, he turns, and then he just plays up the pitch, like we saw in that first start he had versus Liverpool. I'm assuming that's because Maresca's told him that he's not required to do it, because we have other players on the pitch who can do that, Enzo probably being the prime example. So I'd imagine that's the reason why. But that was something that made Lavia's game quite interesting, so I would like to see a little bit more of that from him. But other than that, I have no real complaints with either of these two. Both of them played really, really well. Solid games from both of them. Shore up our defence. Caicedo, obviously doing a shift at right back, was really impressive from him. So yeah, solid game from both of these two. The next blue card goes to the scorer of the first goal, Nicholas Jackson. And all action, Nico Jackson, scoring another goal yet again. And he is just on an absolute hot streak right now. Obviously, that's 2 in his last 2. Obviously, scoring versus Leicester as well. It's his 8th goal of the season in 13 Premier League games. That is really, really good from him. And honestly now, I know I've been quite vocal about wanting to sign another striker, specifically a Victor Gyökeres or a Victor Osimhen. But honestly, I don't think we need to. If we were to go and sign a Victor Gyökeres, specifically Victor Gyökeres, I wouldn't be upset about it because he is probably the best striker on the market right now, if not the best striker in the world. If we weren't to do it, I wouldn't be unhappy about that because I think Jackson has 100% earned his place in this team. He's providing so much to how the team plays. His hold-up play is absolutely phenomenal. And now, his biggest weak point was the fact that he was a little bit erratic with his finishing, but I've said this 1,000 times. His finishing this season has been so much better. Like, he's just looked so much more composed. He's stopped being so overcomplicated with it, which was obviously a problem with him last season, that he was too complicated with his finishing. He often tried to round the goalkeeper, which caused him a few problems. But now he is just simply really putting his foot through it, and he ends up in the back of the net. That was basically what he did with this one. It's a cross in the box from Cucurella, and he just really puts his foot through it, goes in off the post, and we lead 1-0. I do have a few things to point out, which is that why he's not higher in the blue card pecking order. Largely, it is the fact that he had a couple other chances in this game that I thought he could have buried. 2 clean-cut ones. The first is obviously the horrific pass out of the back from Martinez. Literally gifts him the ball. He isn't expecting it, to be fair to him, and he takes a really heavy touch, which takes it away from him, which allows Martinez to make the save. If he anticipated that a little bit more, I would imagine he probably would have scored from it. I'll let him off for that a little bit because nobody in the ground expected Martinez to do that, so I can't really blame him too much. The other one I think is a little bit more egregious, which is when it's a ball played from deep. I'm not too familiar with who. And it lands at Jackson. He's in behind the defence. He's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And I think he should take his shot a little bit earlier than he does. And he shows too much of it to the goalkeeper and Olsen collects. I think he could have done a little bit better with that one. But I'm not going to damp on him too much. I think he did have a really good game. He obviously scored the goal. And he seems to be on a bit of a hot streak for scoring goals right now. We are playing Spurs very soon, and we know Nico Jackson likes to go versus Spurs, so hopefully he goes and bags us another few versus there. He is honestly becoming one of the best strikers, not even in the Premier League, but in the world. He is doing so well. He honestly could be in a competition to win the Golden Boot this season, and he's doing it without penalties, let's not forget. Jackson being this high up the goal-scoring charts without having taken penalties, which I think literally nobody at this height in the table can say that. I don't obviously Haaland, Salah are top of it. I know Chris Wood's ahead of him. I know Brown and Buemo's around us as well. All of them are taking penalties. Jackson's doing this without penalties, which is really, really impressive. Same as what Ollie Watkins did last season. The way that Jackson's doing this is really, really good. I hope we get a couple more goals out of him. And honestly, he is a really good player. I really do like him. The penultimate blue card goes to the scorer of our final goal and the assister of our second, the almighty Cole Palmer. And I called it in the preview. Palmer back at the bag, scoring another goal, getting another assist, getting me a load of points in FPL, which I really appreciate. Palmer he was back to his old self in this game. Not at the peak of his powers exactly, but it was more of what we expect from him in this game. And I do think that has to do with the inclusion of a certain somebody I will talk about in just a moment. But Palmer, while by his standards I don't think it was a perfect game by any means, it was still a really good performance from him. I thought he had some decent chances in the first half. He was progressing play down that right side, thankfully playing in that right half space as that right number 10, which is where his best position is and really where you need him. So very happy to see him there. Obviously, he scores a absolute belter of a goal to round off the day. It was a brilliant, brilliant goal. Probably goal of the month in the bag already, and it's only the first day of December, so that's really nice to see. The assist for Fernandes, pretty much it was just a 1-2 with Fernandes. Fernandes obviously played the ball to him, and Palmer gave it him back, and Fernandes volleys it in. So that was obviously really nice to see. Palmer is just Palmer at the end of the day. Like, even his worst days can still be a 6 out of 10 at the end of the day. It was a good game for Palmer. He did get the official man of the match, but he isn't getting my man of the match. I have somebody else for that, which we'll see very soon. But largely, not a complicated game for Palmer. It was largely a goal and assist and some usual Cole Palmer stuff that we're used to by now. So, nothing really much to say on him, but yeah, good game from Palmer. The final blue card of the day, before I move on to my man of the match, I am giving it to Enzo Fernandez. And he is so good right now. I don't know what has happened to this man since he divorced his wife, but bloody hell, he is just putting in the work, man. Like, obviously, this is his second goal in 2 games. Obviously, he scored versus Leicester, and it's a brilliant, brilliant goal. He gets the ball just on the edge of the box from Palmer, and he volleys it in outside of the foot past Emi Martinez, obviously his international teammate. He loves the goal against Martinez, obviously scored that brilliant free kick against him at Villa Park. So, very clearly, Enzo is he's in a really, really good place right now. And the biggest thing that has been very highlighted with Enzo, his physicality is upped quite a lot. He has upped his physicality stats so much, and I don't know what that means entirely, but he is just looking so much better, and now he looks undroppable from the midfield, which is not something we could say before, but now he does look irreplaceable in that midfield. He ties our attacking quality together so much. He is so important to the way we attack, and his link up with the players across the pitch between Palmer and Neto, Lavia, Caicedo is so important. He's basically the linchpin that keeps our attack flowing. Like, the amount of times he was out on that left side with Sancho and they were doing 1-2s around Villa's players, I believe it was, Philogene and Cash out there. So the amount of times they were just over there doing all that fancy stuff, and they were just linking up really, really well, and it ended up resulting in one of them getting into the box, and we got a decent chance off it. It's really, really good. Obviously, I'll say, linked up with Palmer for his goal. Really good link up, and once again, as I say, really, really good goal. And the other thing you obviously have to mention with Fernandes is the fact that he has been captain recently. Obviously, in the absence of Reece James, Enzo Fernandez is the Chelsea captain, and he has been putting in captain's performances, leading by example. He is obviously very, very vocal. He's involved in all relevant decisions on the pitch. Obviously, we saw him over that really, really weird indirect free kick inside the box from the pass back from Torres to Martinez, which, for the record, is the dumbest rule in football. I'm just going to say it there. If something happens in the box, what's the fucking point if you're just going to put the entire team on the goal line? So, don't really understand the point of that. But anywho, he was involved all over the pitch, both in a leadership capacity and in a playing capacity. And I think everything good is just going through Enzo right now. He is so important to how we play, and I hope he continues to just get better and better every day, because he has really, really made a new man out of himself recently. But we are not done yet. That may have been the final blue card, but there is still a gold card to give out. And the gold card for this game is going to somebody who I neglected to talk about in the defence, and this is the reason why. Because I am giving him the gold card for this game. The best left back in the world right now, Marc Cucurella. He was everywhere in this game. He was so good. And obviously he gets the assist for Jackson's goal, and it is a really, really good assist. Obviously, he absolutely murders Jaden Philogene winning the ball back, and for some reason the Villa players get up in arms thinking it's foul, but it's just Cucurella being his tenacious, ferocious self. Goes through him to get the ball back. Obviously, 1-2s with Sancho into the box, squares it for Jackson. Jackson has the goal. But Cucurella just does so well in this game. He was making some really good challenges, especially against Leon Bailey whenever he was in the box, and Cucurella just dealt with him. He was calm, he was composed, didn't make any rash decisions, and he just got the ball off of him, and then we're on the attack again. He was also just making the very sensible passes. I believe he got like 104, 105 completed passes out of 109 attempted, which is ridiculously good. I've said it 1,000 times now, and now people are finally starting to realize it. He is one of the best left backs in the world, if not the best. And I am so thankful that we did not give him to Manchester United. Because if we had, and he had been performing like this, we would have never heard the end of it. And I am so happy he is here with us right now, being the brilliant player that he is. And he is just one of those players that he will give 100% for the badge. You see his reactions after he gets the assist for Jackson. You see his reaction when Palmer goal goes in. He does just love being at Chelsea. I would imagine he'll stay here for quite a while, unless Real Madrid come knocking for his services. Go away Madrid, don't touch him, he's ours. But 100% Marc Cucurella was fantastic in this game. For me, as I say, best left back in the world ever since, honestly, last season, even before the Euros. I know a lot of people think this started in the Euros, but it started last season as well. Cucurella is 100% the best left back in the world for me, and he had an absolutely stellar game. 100% man of the match, taking on the gold card, and hopefully we get to see more performances just like this from our Sideshow Bob-esque Spaniard. Alright, that is where I'm going to end this episode of the Blue Review today. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all very much enjoyed. Please leave your thoughts down in the comments down below. I would very much like to hear them if you have any at all, or if you just agree with me, feel free to say that as well. But with that being said, I am going to sign off here by saying my name is the Crimson Wolf. I am the reddest Chelsea fan on the internet, and you have all been amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Good luck with it.